All right, welcome back. Let's get right to it. Ian Castleberry joining the Wise Guys on the DC Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines. And it is our Major League Baseball update presented today by our friends at Blue Mountain Pizza. Ian, good afternoon. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Hey, man, not too bad. I got you, and that's all good. And let's get rolling. The Phillies roll the Padres, speaking of World Series-bound Philadelphia, winning, I believe, 6 of 7 games in the postseason. Ian, why do you think Philly caught fire at the right time?
Their stars came to play. I mean, Bryce Harper hitting 400, 2 home runs. I mean, he is every bit the superstar that the Phillies and Major League Baseball expected him to be. Kyle Schwarber also 3 home runs in the series, a big bat for them. And then you have somebody like Rhys Hoskins, who maybe is a little bit unexpected, 4 home runs in the NLCS. So those 3 bats right there, 2 of them expected to be stars. Rhys Hoskins maybe not so much a star, but certainly hit like one. And then they got outstanding pitching. Zach Wheeler especially, a 1.38 ERA, 16 strikeouts in 13 innings. And the Phillies bullpen was outstanding. 1.42 ERA, struck out 19 batters in 13 innings. 4 Phillies relievers, Jose Alvarado, Connor Brogdon, Zach Eflin, and Noah Syndergaard had 0 ERAs in the series. And you compare that to the Padres, who didn't get very good pitching other than from Yu Darvish. Mike Clevenger didn't record a single out in Game 4. Joe Musgrove, 6.35 ERA. And then the Padres' best hitters didn't come to play either. Manny Machado hit 2.35, Juan Soto, 2.22. Trent Grisham, who had been outstanding in this postseason, was 0 for 19. So the bats that had carried the Padres to this point were nowhere to be seen in this series.
Let me ask you this, too. I mean, the Phillies have had great momentum, right? It's like they haven't stopped since they, basically clinched a playoff berth, the last couple days of the season. Do you feel like this 5-day gap between them beating the Padres and starting the World Series, is that going to impact them in any way?
Yeah, I think it could. The time off could really kill the Phillies' momentum. I think that may have been the difference in them beating the Braves in the division series. I think you saw throughout the postseason the teams that got time off, I guess you could, except for the Astros. It was more of a factor in the National League, really, than the American League. But, the Phillies have been playing every day. They've been fighting for their playoff lives, falling into the postseason. And to get a week off, essentially, could really kill their momentum. I mean, it could help them, too, that give them some rest. Rob Thompson can set the Phillies rotation, with Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, and so forth. But, I think that's a very real concern for the Phillies, is to have that time off.
Yeah, we've seen that before over time, no doubt. So now the Astros sweep the Yankees, and Ian, it wasn't pretty last night. I mean, the Yankees were down by 1 run, but judging by the fan reaction, you think they were getting blown out. I was just really taken aback by how the fans were just like, whatever. Could this be Aaron Boone's last game as Yankee manager?
I think it very well could be. With the way the team faltered so badly in the second half, they put up really not much of a fight here in this ALCS. He also made some puzzling bullpen and pitching decisions throughout the game. And then you had players like Garrett Cole and Clay Holmes publicly question his decisions to the press afterwards. And I think the fans, certainly, as you pointed out, have kind of turned on Aaron Boone. They effectively thought, well, this series is over. I mean, it was last night, down 3-0. But, I think it might be time for a change, that Aaron Boone his message has run out, that they need a new voice in that clubhouse maybe. And, Brian Cashman's the general manager. His contract is up as well, but I think the expectation is he will return. But there are plenty of candidates who could take over for Aaron Boone if he decides a new voice is necessary in that clubhouse.
Any names that pop out to you?
Well, Don Mattingly would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Ooh,
He's available now, the former Miami Marlins manager. So I think you got to put him at the top of the list, if for no other reason than his Yankee history. Luis Rojas, former Mets manager, was third base coach this year. Hensley Mullins, the hitting coach, he's due to get a major league coaching job or managing job. Joe Espada, the Astros bench coach, could be up there. And then I've seen some names where I don't think the Yankees are going to go this way because they just really did this with Aaron Boone. But, could they take a chance on somebody like a Carlos Beltran or another former player like Jorge Posada? I don't think they're going to do that after going with Aaron Boone. I think they're going to go maybe in a little bit more of a veteran direction. So I don't know if Mattingly is an exciting enough name for Yankees fans, but yeah, I think that would be an intriguing match there.
Hey, he's done more with less, playing, down in Miami. I think that would be a real intriguing possibility. And I wouldn't look at him. I'd see that. Hopefully, maybe that would fire up Yankees fans. Donnie Baseball, but real quick, what did you make of that last night? I mean, if you're watching the game, it just seemed like Yankee fans were just waiting for them to do something. They weren't really pushing their team, cheering on their team unless, something big had happened. It just seemed like a graveyard last night at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I think it was. That's a good observation. I mean, down 0-3 in the series, and the chances of them coming back were so unlikely. Obviously, it happened with the Red Sox overcoming an 0-3 deficit against the Yankees, but the Astros had just dominated the Yankees so much and really hadn't put up a fight. I think at the very least, if you'd seen the Yankees hit well in the series, then maybe there would have been a little bit more spirit out of Yankees fans. But when you look at Aaron Judge hit .063, Josh Donaldson .077 with 10 strikeouts, Anthony Rizzo hit .250, so did Giancarlo Stanton. And really, the Yankees have three stars in that lineup, maybe even two if you just say Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. And then they have a bunch of other guys, and Aaron Boone was trying to mix and match pieces, especially at shortstop. The starting pitching other than Garrett Cole wasn't really effective either. So I think Yankees fans knew that series was over and just were was just kind of seeing this through to the end last night.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's just like, here we go. By the way, Phillies Astros, who's your pick to win?
I think the Astros are going to win this series. I mean, the Phillies have what appears to be all the momentum. Their stars are playing great, but I think that's a real good observation that a week off could really kill their momentum. And just the Astros have home field. I know so do the Padres, but I think the Phillies feed off their home crowd so much. And if the Phillies don't get one game in Houston, I think the Astros play so well at home. They have better pitching. They have a deeper lineup. Their bullpen especially has been amazing in the postseason, a 0.82 ERA. They're getting great pitching, starting pitching from Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers. Justin Verlander maybe hasn't been as good in the postseason and historically hasn't been great in the World Series, but I still think you have to like his chances in the World Series against the Phillies. And one thing I would point to also is that the Astros' best hitters, other than Alex Bregman, haven't really played that well in the postseason. So is that a trend that will continue in the World Series? Or is that, our hitters like Jose Altuve and Yordan Alvarez, who haven't been hitting, are they due to rebound in this World Series? And given their track record, I think you have to say they probably will.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Let's go around the league. Ian Castleberry, presented by Blue Mountain Pizza, Main Street in Weaverville, and on the DC Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines. So Bruce Bochy, new manager of the Rangers. And, again, I didn't necessarily see that coming, Ian, but want to get your thoughts on, obviously, the three-time World Series championship manager taking over a Rangers team that seems to have talent, but just doesn't seem to move up the ladder in the division.
Yeah, I was surprised they hired Bruce Bochy. I'm not surprised that Bruce Bochy came back to manage. There was a lot of smoke last offseason that he might return to manage the Padres before they hired Bob Melvin. So Bruce Bochy, I think after 3 years off, has had the itch to get back in managing again. And for the Rangers, this is just a complete turnaround in terms of what they've been looking for in a manager. They hired first-timers in Jeff Bannister, then Chris Woodward. Now they're bringing in a veteran manager with experience. So, they don't want strategy to be the question. You're not going to question what sort of decisions Bruce Bochy makes as a manager. And I think you saw how big a difference Buck Showalter made with the Mets, for instance. And not to say that the Rangers are where the Mets are. They are most certainly not. But I think a veteran presence and one who has had experience getting more from less, so to speak, when you see some of those Giants teams and how he turned around some players who just like middling major leaguers, but he was able to get the best out of them. And for Bochy, I think he also wanted to go to a team, maybe not, in a pressure situation like the Yankees, for instance, but the Rangers have a younger ownership. They have a pretty young team. They have a top 5 minor league system in Major League Baseball with plenty of young players like Josh Young and Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker ready to come. And they're also willing to spend money, which they did last offseason with Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, and John Gray, and will probably spend money again this offseason. So I look at, Bruce Bochy and say, well, geez, maybe the White Sox was a better job overall, but overall long-term, the Rangers probably a better situation.
And speaking of managerial hires, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. The Blue Jays have made a decision on their manager, Ian.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are promoting interim manager John Schneider, who took over after Charlie Montoyo was fired. So this is the third interim manager that's been retained. Obviously, Rob Thompson with the Phillies. The Angels are bringing back Phil Nevin for one season. And now John Schneider with the Blue Jays. And maybe a little bit of a surprise. You think the Blue Jays might go for a different name, but Schneider went 46-28 as manager. So he won 62% of his games. If you project that out over 162 games, he would have won 101 games. So he did an outstanding job as Blue Jays manager. He's really popular with the players, many of whom he managed in the minors. He has plenty of managerial experience in the minor leagues. So I think the Blue Jays liked the job John Schneider did and thought, well, we're probably not going to do any better, so why not we keep him?
Yeah, there you go. You know what? Let's see what happens. Ian, before we let you go, your Lions made a rare local TV appearance against the Cowboys, the CBS matchup, I do believe, yesterday. Did you watch? I know it was another loss for the Lions.
Yeah, I did watch. Number one national telecast because of the Cowboys. I think it's a weird thing. This is probably boring to anybody who's just except for a sports media diehard. But remember, usually it's CBS gets the AFC package and Fox gets the NFC package. But now they've changed things up. So once in a while, when there's an opportunity and a team like the Cowboys have a game, CBS says, "Yeah, okay, we want that," even if it's against the Lions. And a national audience got to see why they're bad. They played 3 quarters. They played quite well. I would argue they played well enough to win that game for 3 quarters, and then Jared Goff just fell off the table. Too many turnovers. You can't beat a better team, and the Cowboys are definitely a better team. Can't beat a better team with 4 turnovers. And I think one of the big questions with the Lions is whether or not Jared Goff is the quarterback of the future, and I think he made that a question again with his performance yesterday.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's tough. Hang in there, buddy. We're thinking of you every time.
Hey, number 1 draft pick right now. If they're on track to get number 1 overall. So that'll be the consolation prize, I guess.
Well, they've done well so far with Asia Hutchinson, no doubt, this year's number 1 pick. Ian, hang in there, buddy. I know it's tough. And on vacation next week, so we'll catch up 2 weeks from today.
All right, looking forward to it.
Hey, always. Thank you so much, Ian. Be well, friend.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
You got it. Thank you, Ian, from Barrett Sports Media. That's Ian Castleberry with the Wise Guys.